3 days had passed since the Quadratech Gala, but the memory of that night clung to Ayanna like the faint scent of perfume on skin, stubborn, impossible to shake off. It wasn't just the applause, or the sight of her designs walking under the chandeliers like they belonged there. It was the man who had watched her like a story he wanted to read, slowly, word by word. She had not seen him again, but in the quiet moments, in the studio late at night, when the city's noise faded, his eyes would return to her mind without permission. She told herself it was nothing. She told herself she was too busy for distractions. And she believed those lies most of the time. Zirasa's mornings carried a different rhythm from its nights. By daylight, the same streets that shimmered like jewels in the dark became sunlit rivers of movement, vendors calling out, motorbikes weaving between sleek cars, the scent of coffee and frying plantain curling through the air. Ayanna's small design studio sat on the second floor of an old building on Ruvo Street, the kind with peeling paint and stubborn charm. Inside, bolts of fabric leaned against the walls, sunlight spilled across wooden floors, and the constant whir of sewing machines filled the space. Mara was there too, humming off-key as she sorted buttons into glass jars. They were preparing for a new commission, outfits for a charity art auction at the Koru Gallery, a high-profile event filled with exactly the kind of people Ayanna needed to impress. She was pinning the waistline of a satin gown when Mara's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her brows lifting.
"They want you to come for a final fitting, in person,"
Mara said, reading the message. "Who's they?" Mara looked up, the hint of a smirk curling her lips.
"Quadratech."
Ayanna froze, her fingers still gripping the pin. The name hung in the air like heat. She remembered the gala's golden light, the subtle gravity of Malik Kodra's presence. She also remembered the rules she had promised herself long ago, rules about men with too much money, too much charm, and too much power to leave a person unchanged. She told herself this was business. Nothing more. The Quadratech Tower was a sleek glass blade that rose over Zirasa's skyline, its mirrored surface catching the morning sun like a challenge to the sky itself. Ayanna had never been inside. The marble-floored lobby was silent except for the echo of her heels and the gentle trickle of a stone fountain. The receptionist led her to a private elevator, its walls reflecting her in endless black silk. When the doors opened, she stepped into a space that didn't feel like an office at all, more like a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows opened to a sweep of the coastline, the ocean a sheet of silver under the midday sun. The air smelled faintly of cedar and something darker, expensive. He was there. Malik stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city like it belonged to him. He turned when she entered, and for a moment, they simply looked at each other. It was the same stillness as that night in the ballroom, the same unspoken electricity.
"You came,"
he said, his voice as calm as if they'd spoken yesterday. "This is work," she replied. Her tone was steady, though her pulse was not. He walked toward her slowly, as though he had all the time in the world. There was no smile on his face, but his eyes, steady, dark, assessing, made it clear he was filing away every detail of her.
"You make it sound like work is separate from possibility,"
he said. She ignored that, setting the garment bag on a low table. "I'm here for the fitting, that's all." But as she laid out the suits and dresses, she could feel him closer than necessary, watching not just the clothes but the way her hands moved over them. It wasn't until she asked him to try on a jacket that the space between them truly disappeared. He slipped it on, the fabric molding to his shoulders perfectly. She stepped forward, adjusting the lapels, her fingertips brushing the heat of his collarbone through the shirt. For one dangerous second, her eyes lifted to his, and the world narrowed to nothing but the quiet hum of the air conditioning and the weight of his gaze. "This isn't going to work," she murmured, though she wasn't sure which part she meant, the jacket or the tension.
"It already is,"
he replied. She stepped back quickly, breaking the contact, busying herself with the buttons. She finished the fitting in silence, her movements sharp and professional. When she left, the sunlight on the street felt too bright, the air too heavy. But as her taxi pulled away, she saw him through the glass doors of the tower, still watching her, one hand in his pocket, the other holding his jacket over his shoulder like a man who'd just won something he hadn't even begun to fight for. And deep down, Ayanna knew the rules she'd set for herself were already bending.